Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel.
Hi, everybody. It's so nice to see you again today.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Emma.
We are very happy you are here with us today.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us again.
If you enjoy our conversations, please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
That really helps us continue making more English lessons for you.
Today, we are going to talk about something very important for English learners.
That's right. Today's topic is how to avoid common beginner mistakes in English.
Many people feel nervous when they start learning English.
Yes, some beginners worry too much about making mistakes.
But mistakes are completely normal.
Exactly. Every person who learns a language makes mistakes at the beginning.
Even native speakers make mistakes sometimes.
That's very true. Nobody speaks perfectly all the time.
Emma, do you remember your first English mistake?
Oh yes, I remember many funny mistakes.
Really? Tell us one.
Well, when I first started learning English, I often forgot to use the past tense correctly.
That is a very common beginner mistake.
Yes, I used to say things like, yesterday I go to school.
Instead of, yesterday I went to school.
Exactly.
Did people still understand you?
Most of the time, yes, but sometimes people looked confused for a moment.
That happens to every learner.
What about you, Tom? Did you make mistakes when learning another language?
Definitely. When I was learning French, I once used the wrong word in a restaurant.
Oh no, what happened?
I wanted to ask for a spoon, but I accidentally asked for a shoe.
That's hilarious.
The waiter looked very surprised.
I can imagine.
But mistakes like that become funny memories later.
And they also help us learn faster.
Exactly. Mistakes are not something to fear.
They are part of the learning process.
In today's conversation, we will talk about some very common English mistakes beginners make.
And we will also share simple tips to help you avoid them.
Don't worry if your English is not perfect yet.
Nobody starts perfectly. Learning takes time and practice.
The important thing is to keep trying.
Exactly. Small progress every day becomes big progress later.
So, are you ready to begin?
Let's get started.
Let's talk about one of the biggest challenges for beginners.
Grammar mistakes.
Yes, many English learners worry about grammar a lot.
Especially when they start speaking or writing sentences by themselves.
One very common mistake is forgetting the past tense.
Oh yes, beginners often use the present tense when talking about the past.
Like saying, yesterday I go to the market.
Instead of yesterday I went to the market.
Exactly.
Irregular verbs are especially difficult because they do not follow one simple rule.
Right. For example, go becomes went.
Eat becomes ate.
And see becomes saw.
Sometimes learners try to add ed to every verb.
Like goed instead of went.
Yes, that happens very often with beginners.
Why do you think irregular verbs are so hard?
Because learners cannot always guess the correct form. They must memorize them little by little.
That makes sense.
But practice helps a lot.
How did you practice irregular verbs?
I used simple sentences every day.
Can you give an example?
Sure, I wrote sentences like, I ate breakfast or she saw a movie yesterday.
That's a great method.
Repetition really helps grammar stay in your memory.
Another common mistake is forgetting the S in the third person.
Yes, many learners say he work every day.
Instead of he works every day.
It seems like a small mistake, but native speakers notice it quickly.
Why do beginners forget it so often?
In many languages, verbs do not change like that, so learners forget to add the S.
That's true.
English grammar can feel strange sometimes.
Especially at the beginning.
Yes, but after hearing correct English many times, it becomes more natural.
Another problem is using articles incorrectly.
Articles like a, an, and the.
Those little words can be surprisingly difficult.
Very difficult for some learners.
Some people say, I bought car yesterday.
Instead of, I bought a car yesterday.
Or they say, sun is hot.
Instead of, the sun is hot.
Why are articles confusing?
Because some languages do not use articles at all.
So learners are not used to thinking about them.
Exactly.
Another common grammar mistake is word order.
Yes, some learners translate directly from their native language.
And the sentence structure becomes incorrect in English.
For example, some learners say, "Very, I like this movie."
instead of I like this movie very much.
Exactly.
Direct translation can cause many strange sentences.
That's why it's important to learn English sentence patterns naturally.
Listening helps with that.
A lot. The more English you hear, the more natural sentence structure becomes.
Beginners also confuse do and make sometimes.
Oh yes, that is very common.
People say make homework,
But in English, we usually say do homework
and we say make a cake.
or make a mistake.
English has many expressions that learners must learn naturally.
Exactly. Translation does not always work perfectly.
Another mistake is forgetting helping verbs.
Like saying, "You like coffee?" instead of, "Do you like coffee?"
Questions are difficult for many beginners.
Especially because English question structure is different from many languages.
Did grammar ever frustrate you when you were learning?
Definitely. Sometimes I felt confused by all the rules.
What helped you improve?
I stopped trying to memorize everything perfectly.
Really?
Yes, I focused more on reading and listening to simple English every day.
So you learned grammar naturally over time.
Exactly. Grammar became easier after seeing correct sentences many times.
That's excellent advice.
Thank you.
I think beginners sometimes worry too much about perfect grammar.
I agree. Communication is more important in the beginning.
Of course, grammar matters.
Yes, but beginners should not feel afraid every time they speak.
Making mistakes is part of learning.
Exactly. Every mistake teaches you something new.
So the goal is progress, not perfection.
That's a wonderful way to say it.
Grammar is difficult, but pronunciation can also be a big challenge for beginners,
Oh, yes. English pronunciation confuses many learners.
especially because English spelling is not always logical.
Exactly. Sometimes words look simple, but sound completely different.
Like the word through,
That word is very tricky for beginners.
or words like thought, though, and tough.
They look similar, but they sound very different.
English is very confusing sometimes.
Especially when one group of letters has many pronunciations.
Did pronunciation ever make you feel frustrated?
Definitely. I remember feeling nervous when speaking English aloud
Why?
because I was afraid people would not understand me.
That's a very common fear.
Yes, many learners feel shy because of their accent or pronunciation mistakes.
But having an accent is completely normal.
Exactly. Everyone has an accent, even native speakers from different countries.
The important thing is clear communication.
Not sounding perfect.
One pronunciation problem beginners often have is silent letters,
Oh, yes, English has many silent letters.
like the K in knife.
Or the B in thumb,
Beginners often pronounce every letter they see,
because that is normal in many other languages.
but English pronunciation does not always follow spelling rules.
That's why listening practice is so important.
Another difficult thing is word stress.
Yes, stress changes how words sound in English.
For example, the word record,
As a noun, we say record.
but as a verb, we say record.
Exactly. The stress changes depending on the meaning.
That can be surprising for beginners.
Very surprising sometimes.
Sentence stress is also important.
Yes, native speakers stress important words more strongly.
For example, I really like this movie.
The word really becomes stronger because it adds emotion.
Intonation is another challenge.
Intonation means the rise and fall of the voice.
English speakers use intonation to show feelings and meaning.
For example, questions often rise at the end.
Like, are you ready?
Exactly.
How did you improve your pronunciation?
A listening helps me the most.
What did you listen to?
Podcasts, movies, YouTube videos, and audiobooks.
Did you repeat the sentences aloud?
Yes, I often paused the video and repeated after the speaker.
That is called shadowing.
Exactly. Shadowing is an excellent pronunciation exercise.
It helps learners copy natural pronunciation and rhythm.
And it also improves listening skills at the same time.
Did you ever record your own voice?
Yes, and at first I hated listening to myself
Really? Why?
because my pronunciation sounded strange to me.
That happens to many people.
But later I realized recording myself was very helpful.
Because you could hear your mistakes clearly.
Exactly. I noticed which sounds were difficult for me.
Which sounds were hardest for you?
The TH sound was very difficult.
Like in think and this.
Yes, many learners replace it with S or Z.
That's very common.
I practiced by speaking slowly and carefully.
Slow practice is important at the beginning.
Definitely. Speaking too fast can create more mistakes.
Another good tip is learning pronunciation in phrases, not only single words.
Yes, native speakers connect words together naturally.
For example, what do you want to do often sounds faster in conversation.
More like, what do you want to do sometimes?
That can surprise beginners when listening to native speakers.
Very true.
Beginners often understand slow English but struggle with fast conversations.
Because spoken English sounds different from textbook English sometimes.
Exactly.
That's why regular listening practice is so important.
Do you think pronunciation perfection is necessary?
No, not at all.
Really?
Truly, clear communication is much more important than perfect pronunciation.
I completely agree.
People from all over the world speak English with different accents.
And communication still works.
Exactly. Learners should focus on being understandable and confident.
Not on sounding exactly like a native speaker.
Yes, confidence makes a huge difference when speaking English.
So beginners should not feel embarrassed about their pronunciation.
Never. Every speaker improves step by step with practice.
The key is listening, repeating, and practicing regularly.
And being patient with yourself during the process.
Grammar and pronunciation are important, but many beginners have another big problem.
Fear of speaking English.
Yes, some learners understand English very well, but they feel nervous when they try to speak.
That happens to many people,
Why do you think learners feel afraid?
usually because they are worried about making mistakes.
Or they think other people will judge them.
Exactly. Some learners become very shy when speaking English in public.
Did you ever feel like that?
Oh, yes, very often when I was a beginner.
Really?
Definitely. I was nervous every time I opened my mouth to speak English.
What made you so nervous?
I worried that my grammar was wrong or my pronunciation sounded strange.
That sounds stressful.
It was. Sometimes I knew the words in my head, but I was too afraid to say them aloud.
Many learners experience that feeling.
Yes, fear can stop people from practicing.
And without practice, improvement becomes slower.
Exactly. Speaking is a skill, and skills improve with use.
I remember meeting a student who understood almost everything in English.
But she was afraid to speak?
Yes, she answered every question with only 1 or 2 words.
Because she lacked confidence.
Exactly. She was so afraid of mistakes that she almost never practiced speaking.
That is very common among beginners.
What helped you become more confident?
I stopped trying to sound perfect.
That's a very important point.
I realized communication was more important than perfect grammar.
So your goal changed.
Yes, instead of thinking, I must speak perfectly, I started thinking, I just want people to understand me.
That mindset makes a huge difference.
Definitely.
Did you practice speaking every day?
I tried to. Even small conversations help me feel more comfortable.
What kind of conversations?
Simple things, introducing myself, asking questions, or talking about my day.
Beginners sometimes think they need advanced vocabulary to speak well.
But simple English is often enough for real communication.
Exactly. Clear and simple sentences are very powerful.
Native speakers use simple language all the time too.
Another problem is overthinking.
Oh, yes. Some learners try to build perfect sentences in their minds before speaking.
And by the time they are ready, the conversation has already moved on.
Exactly. That used to happen to me a lot.
What helped you stop overthinking?
Practice and repetition. The more I spoke, the more natural speaking became.
So confidence grows slowly over time.
Yes, confidence is built through experience.
Did you ever speak English with native speakers?
At first, that felt terrifying.
Really?
Yes, I worried they would not understand me.
What happened in reality?
Most people were actually kind and patient.
That's important for learners to remember.
Definitely. Most people appreciate the effort when someone tries to speak another language.
Even if the grammar is not perfect.
Exactly. Communication matters more than perfection.
Some learners also compare themselves to advanced speakers,
That can make people feel discouraged very quickly.
especially on social media.
Yes, people see fluent speakers and think, my English is terrible.
But they forget that fluency takes years of practice.
Exactly. Nobody becomes fluent overnight.
Beginners should focus on their own progress.
Even small improvement is something to be proud of.
Another good way to build confidence is speaking to yourself.
That sounds funny, but it really helps.
What kind of things did you say to yourself?
I described my day in English or talked about what I was doing.
Like, now I'm making coffee, or I need to buy bread.
Exactly. It's simple, but it trains your brain to think in English.
Thinking in English is a big step for learners.
Yes, it helps speaking become faster and more natural.
Some people are afraid of forgetting words during conversations.
That happens to everyone sometimes.
Even native speakers forget words occasionally.
Exactly. When you forget a word, you can explain it another way.
That is a very useful communication skill.
For example, if you forget the word umbrella, you can say, the thing you use when it rains.
And people usually understand.
Exactly. Communication is flexible.
What advice would you give to shy beginners?
Start small and practice regularly.
Small conversations instead of long, difficult discussions.
Yes, simple daily practice builds confidence step by step.
And learners should not fear mistakes.
Mistakes are proof that you're trying and learning.
That's a wonderful way to think about it.
Thank you.
So the secret is practice, patience, and confidence.
Exactly. The more you speak, the easier speaking becomes.